Welcome back, everybody. If you're new, my name's Nicholas, and this is Investing Against the Grain. In today's episode, we thought it'd be fun to take a look at the most recent industry that has had not an evolutionary change, but a revolutionary change and impact on the industry itself. And that would be the phone industry. Okay, once the iPhone came out, the entire phone industry had a complete revolutionary change and everything got flipped on its head upside down. What we're going to do is take a look and see what parallels we can draw from the phone industry and the automotive industry and beyond. With Tesla, I firmly believe that Tesla is a revolutionary change, not evolutionary change, that has come about within the industry. So this video, it's going to be a fun one. We're going to look at some old phones. We're going to see where things were and where we're going in the future. So if you enjoy this type of content, do us a favor. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Even if you don't like it, please ring that bell and let's get into it. What we can see here to begin with, for our sake of parallels, are the phone and the automobile in their geriatric states. Okay, this takes it way back, right, to the very early innings of these industries. One had a main leader innovator of Alexander Graham Bell, and the other was essentially Henry Ford, who really made the automobile what it is today, right, from a manufacturing and volume perspective. Now, what's interesting is that for this sake of this parallel and comparing these two different industries to each other, is that they both essentially started off being the only players in the game and dominating the entire industry. So as we go over this comparison of these two different industries and how they have so many similarities, keep in mind that they both started off essentially with one main dominant player in the industry. So fast forwarding about 80 to 90, 100 years, and this is where we're at. Essentially a cluster, well, you know what I'm going to say. We have nothing but a mess here. We have a million different types of phones. We have a million different colors, a million different form factors. Some have buttons, some don't. Some have slides, some flip. Some are just weird looking that, I don't even know what to say about it. It's called a chocolate. Some are called a sidekick. Some are a razor. Some have a little pearl in the middle. You just keep flicking the thing around until something happens. Okay? Now, on the other side, we have the automotive side. Some are big, some are small, some are wide, some are skinny, some are colorful, some aren't, some are efficient, most aren't, right? So we essentially have a drastic, extreme evolutionary change that had happened from the initial state to what they are now, okay? Now, sure, you can say that there were some revolutionary changes, but in the big scheme of things, there really weren't, okay? Yes, phones went wireless. Yes, cars had engines that didn't have to have a hand crank, but for the most part, there was nothing that just fundamentally changed everything, right? So this is where things ended up. Essentially, just a whole bunch of chaos because there was no real principle of what actually worked. Okay, well, if there's one thing we know over time, is that when something works, it becomes the kind of dominant player across the board, all right? Whether you're looking at something like a search engine, right? Google. Nobody uses Bing. Everybody uses Google. Whether we're talking about the phone market, it's essentially a done deal. It's either an Apple or Samsung when it comes to hardware, or it's Apple OS, or it's Android OS when it comes to the software. Now, sure, China has Huawei and Xiaomi and etc., right? But for the most part, those are the players, one or two. Even social media plays along the same lines, right? You have Facebook, and you have Instagram, but really, that's just Facebook. You have Snapchat. There's TikTok now, but that's pretty much it, right? It tends to be one or three players that end up dominating the market once things get to maturity. And so in this state, what we see here, nothing but sheer chaos, this eventually went down the same path. So let's see what that one looks like. So getting away from that chaos, what does the future really look like? Well, I'll tell you this. The phone industry is ahead of the automobile industry. That's for sure. Let's take a look. This is what the phone industry looks like now. Believe it or not, these are not all the same phone. But this is the form factor that most hardware, when it comes to phones, have essentially fallen in line with. right? This is the most practical form. This is the form that makes the most sense, especially if we take things from a fundamental first principles approach, okay, with how we interact with it, with how we use it on a day-to-day basis. Now, what you see here as well is a bunch of Teslas, of course. Now, mind you, I get it. You probably think I'm biased. But that's why this is just a fun video of just parallels. But this is what I think the future will look like. And you already see it happening. Every single automaker out there right now is copying Tesla on everything they do. There is not a single new EV being, well, I wouldn't say produced because they're not being produced yet. There isn't a single EV concept vehicle out there that does not have the Tesla door handles. There's not a single EV concept car out there that does not have the greenhouse effect with the Tesla glass all over the ceiling. It doesn't exist. They're all copying Tesla. What that means to me, just like all these other phone manufacturers copied Apple with their design, same thing is going to happen copying Tesla's design. Eventually, this is what you'll see as the dominant form factor for vehicles. Now, sure, you'll have some sedans, you'll have some crossovers, you'll have some trucks. But I think the form factor for those will start to really fall in line and be homogeneous across the board. It'll get to a point where, just like right now, if I hold up a Samsung, an iPhone, a Huawei phone, it is almost impossible to tell the difference other than branding. And if we all know one thing, Tesla has amazing branding. Now, with that said, we've talked purely about hardware so far. And honestly, hardware is very important because hardware is like anything in life. It's just like whenever you go and you meet your spouse, whether it's another man or another woman, it doesn't matter. The first thing that gets you in the door is attraction. And with hardware, whether it's vehicles or phones or anything, that initial attraction matters. And so as long as it's the right thing, that's what matters. But once you like the aesthetic of something, now is where the real stuff matters, right? The stuff that really sets things apart, what's on the inside. So let's go ahead and discuss that a little deeper. Before we take a look underneath the covers, no pun intended, let's take a look at Apple and how they revolutionized the entire phone market, and Tesla and what they're doing with the automotive market. Now, if there's one thing that's very interesting, is that prior to the iPhone, Apple actually had a phone that they had released with AT&T. Most people don't know this, but it was more of a soft launch just to test things out into the market. Okay, but then came the iPhone, and this changed everything. My point in bringing this up is that prior to this, Apple was never seen as a phone manufacturer. Apple was a computer company, a software company. And they put they stepped into the ring and they put their hat in, and they just ended up dominating the whole industry. Now with Tesla, there's a very interesting thing. They're not an OEM company. They are a new company. And they came in out of nowhere, and now they're essentially disrupting the Fords and GMs of the world. Okay, so I think the first thing to understand with any company that actually implements a revolutionary change, not evolutionary, okay? Evolutionary is easy. That's okay, this camera can take a picture at higher pixels, or oh, look at what it can do this video, or oh, it's got a little more memory, a little more storage. Phone or automotive, same way. Oh, look at this new button that can do this new thing. Or, hey, look, it's got better gas mileage or whatever. I mean, none of that is really revolutionary. However, Tesla being a new company, Apple being a new company, have both revolutionized their industries. And for any of you who want to tell me Tesla is not, let me stop you right there. You find me one automotive company right now that is not knocking on the door for EVs and trying to figure out how they can be competitive. Because I promise you, by 2030, if they are not selling more EVs than they are ICE vehicles, they will not exist. Mark my words. Please, somebody timestamp this, save it, and 2030, call me out on it. If I'm wrong, please call me out. But my point is, New companies into certain markets tend to be the ones that revolutionize it. Okay, so that's step one. Step two, they also tend to displace other companies, industries, rather than just the one they're in. Let me give you an example. Apple. Yes, they disrupted the phone industry, right? The Motorola's, the Nokia's, the Pearls, the HTC's, these Nextel phones, the Sprints, the Sidekicks. I mean, I could go on and on. Okay, so that's the industry they were in, right? That's that circle of competency. But they also disrupted other industries. They disrupted the camera industry, right? Nobody buys digital cameras anymore. They disrupted the camera recorder company. Nobody. You remember those big ones that your parents used to show up and it'd like sit on their shoulders and it was like 10 feet high in the air and they were sitting there looking at it like this. Nobody buys those anymore. They also disrupted the MP3 industry, the CD player industry, right? Because it was all in one compact form factor, right? That's what Apple did. They didn't just disrupt the industry they were in, they disrupted other industries around them. That is a quintessential sign of a revolutionary change. Now, you might be thinking, oh, what's Tesla doing? Well, arguably a way more revolutionary company than Apple was to phones. Okay, the powertrain is no longer the internal combustion engine. The powertrain is now motors. The fuel is now batteries. Okay, Tesla, not only are they displacing every single component and manufacturer that has to do with the internal combustion engine, they're disrupting all of the gas companies, all of the petro companies. They're displacing all of the gas stations because guess who has the biggest network for electric vehicles when it comes to supercharging? Yeah, Tesla. So big that they're opening it publicly for other EVs because in Europe, they're banging on the door for Tesla to open up their network for everyone else to accelerate the advent of renewable energy. So they're disrupting engines, they're disrupting gas companies, petro companies, they're disrupting gas stations. It is unreal. Well, what else are they disrupting? Well, I'll go on. They're also disrupting the power industry, the utility industry. Tesla has Tesla Energy. Okay, Tesla Energy is going to eventually be just as big, if not bigger, than what Tesla Motors is. Okay, keep in mind, the biggest companies in the world are utility and petro companies. And Tesla is disrupting all of them. So the automotive industry is a small part of it. This is what people don't understand. The TAM, the total addressable for market for Tesla, is unheard of. It is the biggest that has ever existed. It's utilities, it's energy, it's petro, it's automotive. It's all of the biggest companies in the world, all getting dominated by Tesla. It is unparalleled. However, we're drawing parallels to Apple. Let's continue. Now, to get back where we were, I talked about looking underneath the hardware, underneath the covers. We've already talked about this, right? Pretty straightforward. Revolutionary technology is a must, and design of the future. Okay, iPhones, Samsung, Huawei, they all essentially look the same at this point, form factor. All these other OEMs, everybody, every new company, every new startup, they're trying to essentially copy the aesthetic of Tesla. Sure, some are doing things a little differently, but a lot of the main principles of Tesla, they are all trying to copy. Essentially, everyone else is a Me Too company right now, and Tesla is forging the way of the future, and there's no one else who's even has the vision that they have at this point. Very reminiscent of Steve Jobs and early Apple. So when we look underneath the covers of these companies, if we look inside of the iPhone, if we look inside of the Tesla, if you look what's deep inside within whoever your partner is, that's the stuff that really matters, okay? Whether it's your partner's personality, their ambition, their drive, their caring for other people, those are the things that really matter and stand the test of time. When it comes to Apple, the reason it was revolutionary is because they took a computer operating system and they put it into a phone. This had never been done, okay? They are a company that has always seen themselves as software first, hardware second. Okay, the hardware is a means for delivery of the software, and that is still true to this day for Apple. Now with Tesla, if there's one thing you should know about Tesla, is that as much as people want to call them an automotive company, they arguably have the top talent in the world for software engineers. Let me give you an example. Every other auto manufacturer right now attempts to do over-the-air updates. Tesla's been doing this for almost a decade. Right now, the way everybody else has to do it, they have to go to the dealership, drop their car off for X amount of hours, get a rental car, then they'll do the updates, and then they'll pick up their car. Not quite over-the-air update if you ask me. This is something that's very simple for any real software company. Like, this isn't a complex thing to do, yet these automotive companies struggle with it. Let me give you another example. Ford is now announcing a payout for employees who want to leave the company, take a payout, so that Ford can go ahead and hire more engineers that will have the talent and skills for what they need in the future. Guess what those skills are? Software engineers. This is where the world is moving towards. Look at me. My background's in electrical mechanical engineering. What am I now? I'm a software systems engineer. It's the way of the future. Software will dominate everything. Software is what matters. The hardware is simply the medium to get to it. Okay? That's all it is. So software has to be first. Second, and this is maybe even the harder part, user interface, user experience. Okay? Something that Steve Jobs said a long time ago is that he likes to think of problems from a customer's perspective first. How would I like to interact with something? And from there, I work my way backwards to figure out what the solution is. Versus the way a lot of people think in a very linear fashion of, okay, we have this problem, how do I solve it? And then you end up with the solution, but that solution may not be the best customer experience. This matters, okay? With the iPhone, nobody can deny this. Even to this day, okay, the iPhone is still the device I can hand to anyone. I can hand it to my grandmother, my grandfather. I can hand it to anyone. To a little kid, it doesn't matter. They know how to use it within minutes. It's that intuitive, it's that simple, and it's that much of a pleasure to interact with. The Tesla, very similar. You get into the Tesla, everything is done through the screen. Okay, there's no extra buttons anywhere. There's no extra displays. It's all right there. Everything's a beautiful touch screen. The layout is beautiful. Even the AC, okay? You don't move air vents with little plastic up and down. No, you just go on the screen, you touch your finger onto the screen, and you slide up or down however you want the air to hit you. Okay, this is experience-driven design, right? This is when software matters the most. And any company who is not a software-first company will never succeed in revolutionizing any industry. Again, another parallel between Apple and Tesla. Let's continue. So my final thought on this comparison between Apple, which revolutionized the entire phone industry, and Tesla, which I believe is revolutionizing the entire automotive industry, plus other industries as well, is that you have to have an engineering first mentality, right? The morals, the ethos of your company has to be engineering first. It cannot be MBA-led type company. It can't be a, can we save money by reusing this part? Can we just not do that instead because it's going to cost more money even if it provides a better experience? That's not the way to think for anything, right? The best way to think about things is from a first principles approach, right? Find out what the truth is from an engineering, from a physics perspective, and whatever that tells you, that's what you design for. That's what you create towards, okay? And anything else is just not true. Everything else is false. It's incorrect. It's an error, okay? Steve Jobs knew this. He understood this very well. Steve Jobs understood that design was everything. And the beauty of design was simplicity with all the complexity hidden behind it, right? That's why when you saw Steve Jobs come back to Apple, he said, we're getting rid of all these million products we have. right? Very reminiscent to all those stupid phones we have, all these cars we have, all these different designs and everything. And he scaled it back to 2, 3 designs. It's like when you walk in a museum, okay? The reason museums are so impactful, it's not just because of the art. It's not just because of what's on display. A lot of times, and the majority of the time, it's the negative space that allows you to appreciate what's in front of you, okay? The lack of something is what gives you impact of what you see. You step into a Tesla, it's a very minimalistic approach, very minimalistic, but it allows you to focus onto what's important, what matters. 2 things, the driving experience and the interface that you deal with from a software perspective. Okay, these are the things that matter. Tesla is an engineering first company, right? They don't have investor days. They have recruiting days for engineers. On August 19th, 17th, I forget, coming up on Thursday, they're gonna have their Tesla AI Day. The whole point of their AI Day is not for investors. Elon has said it multiple times. It is to recruit top AI talent. To quote Elon, in the future, Tesla will be seen not as an automotive company, but as an AI robotics company. That's where they're headed. That is real innovation and leadership in thinking. Now, pushing boundaries. This is the only way any company can become a revolutionary company, but then stand the test of time. Now, Apple had that. They had it with the iPhones, right? And then they came out with the iPad, and both were revolutionary. But then, unfortunately, Steve Jobs passed away, and their main engine for inspiration and just brilliant, out-of-the-box thinking was no longer there at the helm. Now, Tim Cook has taken over since, and brilliant man, a lot of respect for Tim Cook. He has done amazing things with the company. He has made Apple the largest company by market cap by far. It's I think 2.4 trillion company by now. Okay, Tim Cook has done a phenomenal job. However, in that time span, the only thing that's really come out from Apple, other than evolutionary iterations of the iPhone, nothing revolutionary, has just been AirPods. That's it. There's really been nothing else. Okay, so much so that Tim Cook even had an option to buy Tesla, but Tim Cook wouldn't take a phone call from Elon. Big mistake if you ask me. I'm sure he regrets it now. Question is, would Steve Jobs have made that mistake? Probably not. However, works out for all of us investors because as we like investing against the grain, we like those 10, 20x type returns. Now, let's get back to Tesla. Tesla is still pushing boundaries. They are just starting to push boundaries, and Elon is still here for a long time. Now, he may not always be the CEO of Tesla, but he will be around for a long time. He has said many times he doesn't like being CEO. He doesn't want to be CEO. He wants to be the lead engineer. So even if he stepped down from CEO of Tesla, he would still probably remain as a lead engineer for Tesla. That's what he likes. That's what he wants. He doesn't care about the power. He cares about the engineering. Now, with Tesla, they are pushing boundaries. Full self-driving is the next major thing to come out in the entire world when it comes to any type of technology. Think about it this way. Take the iPhone. Imagine if no other phone had access to internet. Only Apple could figure out how to get internet on the phone. Nobody else could figure it out. That is the same thing that's happening with Tesla. Tesla will be the first company to solve full self-driving. Nobody will even be close. And when that happens, mark my words, it will make 0 sense to buy any other vehicle other than a Tesla because it doesn't have full self-driving. It would be the most idiotic thing. It would be a financial disaster. Why would you buy any other vehicle if you could buy one that has full self-driving ability? Think about it. You wouldn't have to fly places because you could just sleep in your car and drive there. While you're working, you could send your car out to work for you in a robo-taxi deployment. The economics would be insane. You could potentially make more money having a robo-taxi than you do at your job. You could double your income immediately. Think about it this way. You don't have to sit there and go through security and everything. You can have all of your family in a car. You can bring your dog as well. You can sit there, you can work on the drive up to, maybe Boston. That's where we go every year for Christmas. We can get in there with our puppy, we can work, we can sleep, we can watch TV, all the way to Boston. No issues. Yeah, it'll take longer, but it'll be a lot cheaper, tell you that. And it'll be less of a hassle as well. These are the things that a company that's revolutionary and is going to stand the test of time have. Now, if you've made it this far into the video, again, none of this is investment advice. This is just some crazy engineers' opinions of what's going to come in the future. So take it with a grain of salt. Do your own work, okay? Use what I'm saying as a stepping stone and maybe just like a little bit of a trigger for your curiosity of, what is this Tesla company really doing? Is this really possible? Is this guy crazy? Go do your homework, go do your research. Because mark my words, if you stumble upon this video in 5-6 years from now, you'll regret not taking it seriously. All right, with all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed it. It was a fun one, especially going back and looking at old phones I used to have. This has just been kind of like a very nostalgic episode for me. I love Apple at the end of the day. Keep in mind, I use Apple for everything. My computer is obviously a Mac. If you want, please do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It'd really help us out. Also, don't forget to ring the bell so that you're aware of other episodes that come up. But it really does help us out and helps the channel evolve. Again, appreciate all of you. I love you all. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the